name's Dr. Jimmy Young, and I'm a social work futurist, and this is video 3 in a series on the CSWE Technology Report. In videos 1 and 2, I covered what the report is, its central argument, did a steep analysis of its key signals, and landed on 2 different signals that are high impact and highly uncertain, which include how fast the profession adopts AI and how strong the EPAS standards turn out to be on technology. In this video, I'm going to use those 2 signals to build a 2x2 scenario matrix and 4 plausible futures for social work education. But before we jump to the slides, I want to spend a few minutes teaching the tool, because I think the scenario matrix is one of the most misunderstood tools in foresight. And if you understand what it's actually doing, it becomes a lot more useful. So a 2x2 scenario matrix works like this. You take 2 critical uncertainties, forces that are both highly consequential and genuinely unknown in their outcome, and you turn each one into an axis. Each axis runs from one extreme to the other. When you cross 2 axes, you get 4 quadrants, as you can see here. Each quadrant represents a distinct plausible future, a world where one combination of conditions has arrived. For this report, the horizontal axis is the pace of AI adoption in the profession. And it runs from one side being slow adoption to the other far side being fast AI adoption. The vertical axis is the strength of the 2029 EPAS standards on technology, running from weak standards at the bottom to strong standards at the top. And so when you cross those 2 axes, you get 4 worlds: strong standards and slow adoption, strong standards and fast adoption, weak standards and slow adoption, and finally, weak standards and fast adoption. Now, each one of these is plausible. Each one is distinct. Each one points to a different set of decisions. And I want to be clear about what this tool is and what it is not. It is not a prediction tool. We are not saying one of these futures is likely and the others are not. We are saying all 4 are possible. And that's a good strategy. That's good policy. It needs to hold up across all of them, not just one that we're hoping for. That's what makes a decision robust, is that it can survive multiple futures. One more important thing about axis selection before we move back to the slides is that the axes are the most important decision in the whole exercise. A good axis has 3 qualities. It has to be genuinely uncertain. If you already know which way it's heading, it's a planning assumption, not a scenario axis. It also has to be high stakes. If it doesn't really matter which end arrives, your scenarios will feel flat. And the 2 axes have to be independent of each other. If one causes the other, they're not really 2 separate uncertainties. Your 4 quadrants would then start to collapse into 2. So these 3 criteria are what we use to select these specific axes from the steep analysis. Okay, let's go back to the slides. So in this slide, I'm trying to show the step between the steep analysis and the scenario matrix, what I call a prioritization bridge. It's a simple impact uncertainty grid that helps you decide which signals deserve to become scenario axes. So the grid has 4 quadrants: signals that are high impact and low uncertainty, things that matter a lot and we're fairly confident about the direction. Those belong in the plan for category. You build them into your strategy as planning assumptions rather than scenario axes. Signals that are low impact and high uncertainty, they're worth monitoring, but they're not necessarily driving your scenarios. And then signals that are low impact and low uncertainty, those are your assume category. It's background context that probably won't change your decisions. The upper right quadrant is where your scenario axes come from: high impact and high uncertainty. These are the forces that matter enormously and could go in very different directions. That combination is what makes them valuable as axes. Each extreme produces a genuinely different strategic environment. So on the right of the slide, you can see the 2 signals from the steep analysis that belong in the upper right quadrant. First, the pace of AI adoption in the profession. This is high impact. How fast or slow the profession moves will shape what programs need to do, what field agencies need to provide, and what graduates will be expected to know. It's highly uncertain. The profession could remain resistant, or accreditation pressures could accelerate adoption rapidly. Second, the strength of the 2029 EPAS standards on technology. Also high impact. These standards govern every accredited program. Also, highly uncertain. The task force could produce strong, specific standards with enforcement mechanisms, or the standards could end up vague and easy to satisfy on paper. So these become our axes. So here's the finished matrix. Strong EPOS at the top, weak at the bottom. Slow adoption on the left, and fast on the right. You can see the four scenarios sitting in their quadrants. And let's walk through each one. On the top left, going through the motions. Slow adoption plus strong standards. This is actually a more dangerous scenario than it may appear. Programs are technically in compliance. The language of technology competency is in their syllabi and their accreditation documents. But in practice, in classrooms and field placements and in faculty development, very little has changed. Students graduate with a checkbox on their transcript and a gap in their actual capacity. The risk here is that strong standards without genuine cultural change can create a false sense of security. Programs think they've addressed the problem when really they haven't. The top right is called leading with values. In this scenario, fast adoption plus strong standards. This is the aspirational future the report is ultimately pointing towards. Programs are building real digital competency, not just checking boxes. Students are learning how to use technology and to critique it. Social workers are being included in conversations about how AI gets designed and governed in human services. The profession is shaping the tools that affect its clients rather than just adapting to them after the fact. This is where the report wants the profession to go. In the bottom left, it's called drifting behind. Here, slow adoption meets weak standards. This is a scenario where social work becomes increasingly irrelevant as AI reshapes human service delivery without the profession's voice. Technology companies, administrators, policymakers fill the gap. Clients experience increasingly automated, impersonal, and potentially biased service delivery, and social work doesn't have the standing or the knowledge to push back effectively. This is the slow erosion of our professional jurisdiction. In the bottom right, this scenario is called compliance theater. It's fast adoption plus weak standards. This is in some ways the most inequitable scenario. Large, well-resourced programs at bigger research universities can move fast and build real capacity, whereas maybe smaller, rural programs serving under-resourced communities, they just can't keep pace. AI gets deployed across the field, but inconsistently and without a shared ethical floor. The students and clients who most need the profession's protective function are the ones that are most exposed. Now here's the foresight question that I want to leave with you before video 4. Which of these futures does your program feel like it's currently heading towards? Not which future you want, which one you're actually moving toward based on what you're seeing in your curriculum, your field placements, your faculty development, and your conversations with your accreditation body. That honest assessment is the starting point for strategic action. And strategic action is what video 4 is all about. So that's the 2x2 scenario matrix applied to the CSWE report. 4 plausible futures, each one the product of 2 intersecting uncertainties, and each one pointing to different risks and different opportunities. The power of this tool isn't in any single scenario. It's in holding all 4 simultaneously and asking, what decisions would I make right now that hold up across all of them? That's the question video 4 is going to answer, so I hope you'll join me in the final video of this series. Thanks.